So I'm still unpacking my game room, and I've been going around looking at cool ways to store my games. You know, obviously you want to put them on shelves, you want to display them. But as I've been going through, I have realized and kind of remembered that, you know, the first party companies, your Nintendos, your PlayStations, they made some really cool stuff throughout the years to store games with. And also there's some third-party companies that really made a very good impact in this as well. So actually I have quite a few cool storage containers from first and third-party companies for my games. I kind of want to show you guys today what kind of stuff's out there. Maybe you guys have some of this stuff, or maybe this is something that you didn't know about that maybe now you can look for. Depending on what I'm going to show, some of it's expensive, some of it's not. But either way, I just thought it'd be a really cool thing to show you guys. So without further ado, let's jump into some really creative ways to store your video games. So we're going to start small with just, ways to hold your memory cards. So this is actually, made from Sony. It's just a little case to hold your PlayStation's memory cards. And also they have a similar one for Nintendo 64. Now the reason I like these a little more is look at the little detail here, where it's like the little connection for your controller. That's just the clasp to hold it. But these are pretty cool. One other weird little thing that I found, it's not really too important, but it's for Castlevania, the 20th anniversary. It just holds a couple DS games. But like little things like this, pretty easy to find at flea markets and stuff, but you don't really care about this stuff. Let's get to some really cool storage solutions. So I see stuff like this all the time. Basically just little tiny sleeves. Well, these are the sleeves, of course, that hold Nintendo games, but it's like a little thing that holds the sleeves, that holds the games. They're not really that hard to find. You can usually find something like this for $5, and they're kind of nice to put under a shelf just to have games out if you don't have any good cases for them. But if we're talking Nintendo games, there's something a little bit better, but way harder to find. Now, these are pretty hard to find, but they are called Laserline cases. They're actually Nintendo branded. You see I have two of them here, and this is the two ways you're going to find them. Either complete with probably a broken latch, or basically no door, because the doors were notoriously weak. But they hold games in there, and you can see it opens up. I'm going to kind of lay this down softly. It opens up and holds all your games in there, but the cool thing about this is these little buttons here, kind of push them on the side and the game pops out. Basically there's a little arm in the back that flicks it out when you press the button, and then you push it in and lock it back in. These cases are very, very cool, but they're pretty expensive. Without the door, they're a little bit cheaper, but once again, it's obviously not as cool as with the door. And when you find them, most of the time, this part up here is broken, so it doesn't really stay. So I like to kind of put something on top of it to hold the door down. But Laserline, they were a multimedia company. So these were made for Nintendo, but if you have CD-based games, they also made a lot of CD cases just because, they were just, made storage for media. And I will say there's some cool stuff you can do in regards to that. And I'm going to show you a creation of my own doing. So this is a Laserline case meant just for regular CDs, but I went through and I bought this little kind of cool chrome Dreamcast decal for like $1.50 or something. And boom, now it's a Dreamcast case. Once again, this was way cheap because it's just meant for CDs. You can get these on eBay for like $10. But once again, really cool. The game pops out. Just whatever game you want to pop out, pops out. And like I said, you can just kind of find these little decals online for very cheap. I know obviously it's not an official thing, but on the shelf, it looks great. You want to get your games out. It's very convenient. I highly recommend making something like this. Laserline makes a very good product. Now, almost everybody knows about these. These are those video game drawers you see all the time. They vary in price. Obviously, the size and the type make a difference, but they're pretty nice, pretty simplistic, right? So Nintendo 64 would hold Nintendo 64 games. This is a single wide Nintendo 64 one. I got a couple of those, but one that I really like is the Super Nintendo one, where the front is shaped like a Super Nintendo cartridge. I always thought that was really, really neat. But I found one that is very inexpensive that I didn't know existed, and that is this PlayStation one. Now, what's neat about it is on the inside, you can see the games kind of lean in, and if you go top down, you can store memory cards in the front, and the games, you kind of flip through like a library. Abnormal. I ended up getting this at a convention for $5, so I don't know if they're rare or not, but I don't think it could be, because usually convention prices are, not steep, but, not cheap either. But once again, these are some kind of common things that you probably see more of, but they are jumping up in price. So if you can find one of these, definitely snap at it. But now we get into the really cool stuff, and that is console carry cases. So this is one for a Super Famicom. I don't have a Super Famicom, sadly, so this is empty, but it's really cool, right? I mean, a lot of these have really cool graphics on them, at least the ones from Japan do. There's also one that's Mario Kart themed, but you can see when you get into it, mine is missing one clasp, but open up the clasp, and this is really cool because it has a plastic tray that houses the controllers. So you'd have your console here, your controllers here, games, etc. But these are kind of harder to find, and when it comes to these console cases, this one is obviously made by Nintendo, but there was another big name in console cases, and that, my friends, was Blockbuster. So the Blockbuster rental case is something of beauty. They are very tough, very durable, because they're meant to, for kids to rent video games and bring them home, and they also had nice foam inserts. So here's one for the GameCube. So you see it has the nice foam on the top, and it has a nice little cutout for every different thing. So 2 controllers, all your power cords, etc., etc., and the GameCube itself. These things are really cool. These are where it gets expensive, though. A lot of them are not going to have the foam in them. If you find one for a reasonable price, it definitely doesn't have the foam. But usually you're paying over $100 just for the case. That's no console, no anything. But the GameCube one is one that you don't really think of much, because when people are renting consoles back in the days of Blockbuster, it was usually Nintendo 64 and, well, our next console, the Virtual Boy. No one owned a Virtual Boy. Everyone rented a Virtual Boy. Everyone rented a Virtual Boy from Blockbuster. But this is the case, and man, this is really nice. If you find one with all the stuff like mine has, it has the foam with a bunch of information. I have the original booklet, of course, a nice cutout for the console itself, the controller, the stand, and the cords, and I just happen to have a little spot for all the games in here. But this is a really cool thing. Once again, though, Virtual Boys themselves nowadays are hard to find, but with a Blockbuster case, god, near impossible. Especially with the foam intact like this one. Once again, these cases are very cool and very hard to get, but if you can get one, it looks great on display in your collection. Plus, it's a really good way to store stuff. That said, I don't know much about people home making these for big consoles, but there is one more case I have like this that is, I guess you'd call it a reproduction. Regardless, it's really cool. I definitely need to show it off. So when the Turbografx Mini came out, I was really excited because I never had a Turbografx growing up. If you're looking at this video, you don't know how big this thing is. It's small. This is a custom case I got off of Etsy to be like the Blockbuster cases, but for the Turbografx Mini. That's right, the little Turbografx Mini console, the little itty bitty mini console. Someone made a cool replica of the Blockbuster case for it. I always thought this thing was cool. I think I got it for $25 or something really cheap. And I was like, you know what? That's cool. It's cute. It's little. It's actually, a little bit nicer than the cardboard box. Plus, you could take it out and play it real quick. But anyway, that's everything I have for weird, cool ways to store games and consoles. Definitely let me know what kind of neat stuff you guys have, because there's some really, really crazy stuff out there. Anyway, I hope some of that stuff was something that maybe you hadn't seen before, and if it was, maybe it's something that you have in your own collection, which would be really cool. Because like I said, some of the stuff is expensive, but some of it isn't, so it's worth keeping your eyes peeled, especially at conventions, or maybe even yard sales or something. Flea markets are a good spot. That's where I found a lot of those drawer containers. But let me know down below what you guys think. Do you have any of this kind of stuff, or do you have anything even cooler that I don't know about? I really am interested to see what kind of cool ways you guys have for storing your games. Anyway, that's gonna do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. That would be phenomenal. Ring the bell and all that jazz, comment, blah blah blah. But hey, as always, my friends, take it easy.